Hello, hello.
Hey there, I'm Nick.
And I'm Abby. Welcome back to the Empowered by Empath podcast. Today, we've got a super special guest. His name is Chase, and he's only 19 years old, but he's a total entrepreneur making big changes, and he's my little brother. Hey, Chase.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Business is doing good.
Nice. Good. That's why we wanted to bring you on. Well, let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Okay. Well, as you said, I am 19 and I started a lawn and landscape business this year, which I've been scaling pretty big recently. So I just passed my goal of hitting $100,000 revenue in my first year. And I have big plans on, changing the labor industry as a whole rather than just making this about making money at the lawn care.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about what your mission is and how you're going to change the lawn care industry.
Labor industry overall.
Yeah. So what I kind of like to focus on rather than other companies when they focus on more about, cheaper prices, I try to I still am in the medium price range, but I like to focus a lot more on my actual employees and the community as a whole. So I have a different way that I pay my employees versus like P for P rather than hourly. So it's pay per performance. So the harder my guys work, the more money they make. So I'm not scared to, pay my employees what they're worth and to actually give them an incentive to work harder, so they're not just working for the same check every week. The harder they go, the more money they make, so it's up to them rather than up to me.
Right. Yeah, that seems like a really fair opportunity of bringing in more or less like the independence of a freelance contractor almost within your company, but also the dependability of a company taking care of them at the same time is what it looks like that you're building out right there.
Yep, I took a lot of inspiration from companies like Amazon and FedEx.
Okay. What specifically stood out that wanted you to mirror them, those companies?
For me, I kind of thought a lot in the beginning about employee retention, keeping my employees over a period of time rather than, people who show up for a couple months and then leave. And I saw a lot of people at FedEx and Amazon who actually stayed with those companies for years, tens of years. Sometimes like they're there for 30 years, 40 years. And I was always wondering, why do they like these companies so much? And when I look deeper into it, it's kind of the freedom aspect where you're not having to work at certain hours. It's more based off of you. They give you a supply of work, but you can do it at your own pace rather than them, setting all the rules and diameters for everything that you're doing.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people operate differently. I love that. Yeah, going back to that fair concept.
Yeah, that's really interesting because when most people think about business, they think about like cutting down and increasing the profit margins. So they're focused more on making income rather than focusing on the people and how are your people that are working with you going to feel and how are you going to make an impact on people's lives rather than just your wallet. So it's really interesting that you think that way.
Yep. And I try to, my big goal is to do both at one time. So that's where my business model, I kind of focused a lot more on efficiencies so I can get best of both worlds, where I can pay my employees well at the same time I get my fair chunk of change too. So I kind of figured out that sweet spot right now. So I'm getting best of both worlds.
Nice. And also doing that employee retention that you had talked about earlier. I mean, who wouldn't want to stick around when they're making more money, especially in today's economy with what everything looks like price-wise, and the expense to live is definitely going up every month, it seems like, the time that we're in.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper into your mindset because you have these thought processes that mirror somebody who's been in business for years and years, but you're only 19 years old. So what like drove that changed within you that made you think a little bit different than other people who just say, oh, it's time to go to college, and you're like, oh, I want to scale a business?
See, a big thing that I feel like we have an advantage nowadays rather than the past is the availability of the internet. So a lot of people, if you just want to pick people's minds and stuff, you can just go watch a podcast just like this. You can go watch YouTube. You can really see how people think of every certain business that you would want to be in. And if you just want to look for it, the information's there. Like there's no shortage of information on the internet. You can kind of find a lot in how to pick everyone's mind at the same time and basically pick and choose what you think would work for you in your company.
Nice. And did you ever consider going to college, or you just knew from a young age, I'm gonna learn from others and build a business instead?
I would say when I first got into high school, I wasn't sure. I just was gonna go just because, that's just a traditional route. I just didn't really know what I wanted to do at the time. But say near the second half of high school, I went out and I needed extra money. So I knocked on some doors and closed 3 loan clients in my first day knocking doors. And I was like, whoa, this could turn into something big if I really wanted to. I had the whole time where I thought, oh, in 30 days, if I'm doing it at this rate, I'll have 100 yards in a month. So I had a lot of that running through my head at the time, but it's really that I saw the opportunity there, and then I never looked back since.
Nice. Yeah, you filled a need, and people and they need their lawn, especially in Florida, needing their lawn taken care of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially in Florida.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? What do you think changed? With the mindset of wanting to go to college between entrepreneurship, and you said you never looked back. Aside from the amount of money that could be made, what do you think changed within your mindset?
For me, I think it was just more of I can have a bigger purpose rather than just going to a job and making a couple bucks. I can actually try to work towards something. Like for me, my goal is slowly creating an impact in the labor industry, and having better job positions and people paying more for performance rather than hourly. But I saw the opportunity that I can actually make some sort of impact, regardless of how big or small my business is. At least it would impact my employees. So I just thought there was a lot more opportunity in business for me to express myself and what I want to do in life. So since if I just had a job and I went to college and just the traditional route, there's really nothing I could have done rather than, just work the job and make my income.
Mm-hmm.
I chose this way because I could express myself.
Nice.
Do you ever have any doubts in your path, or do you feel like has any doubt ever even crossed your mind, or did you feel confident in your path from that very beginning?
You meaning like I didn't know if I could do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning of this year, I actually advertised for 2 months straight without closing one client. Every single day, passing out about 500 door hangers a day.
Wow.
And I actually got injured trying to pass out those door hangers because I was using my legs, and I was walking about like 12, 13, 15 miles a day.
Wow.
Dang.
So in the beginning, yeah, I was like, dang, I'm passing all these flyers. I haven't got a customer. But over the course of the year, just the snowball effect was ridiculous. And it just really took into effect. And then recently, that's when I've been making the profits of my business throughout this entire year.
That's incredible. Yeah, it just I mean, like you hear it once it takes off, once something clicks, it just you can't take control of it anymore. It has a mind of its own, and grow, especially having the name grow is growing out of control like the way nature does, which is wild.
It's perfectly.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So you're saying that you were able to commit yourself to walking all those miles each day, to stay focused even though you didn't close any clients for 2 months. How are you prioritizing your schedule and not getting distracted? I mean, there's parties going on, you're young, like how are you keeping your mind focused?
Because I was just thinking about, when it was the beginning of the year, I kind of had to focus more on the bigger picture rather than what I'm doing day to day. So I said, for me, it was kind of more out of fear, because what am I going to do? I already decided I'm not going to college. What am I going to do if I don't pass these door hangers out? What, just sit at my mom's house for the rest of my life? I got to, get up and do something. So there's nothing else to do rather than just go at it full on. So I kind of already put myself in the position by choosing not to go to college that, okay, now I got to take action, or I'm just going to be sitting here doing absolutely nothing, bored out of my mind. There's no point of just sitting here and doing nothing.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like, and we've spoken about this in the past on different podcasts and with other people, if the dream doesn't ignite that passion within you to do something, the nightmare will definitely drive you towards your goals. Yep. Nightmare meaning, what's on the other end of it, and you don't want to be doing nothing with your life. Makes sense, or just clocking in, clocking out for somebody else's dream instead of your dream every day.
Yep, exactly.
So while you were building your business, and now I see that you're creating YouTube videos and teaching other people and building mindset around your business, and it's not just a business anymore. It's not just lawn care. It's become something more than that. So have you ever run into the issue of people saying, you're really young, how are you doing this? Why are you in business? Or doubting you because of your age?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people think that since I'm young, they always say, oh, you should be living your life. You shouldn't be working this hard. But in my opinion, I feel like when you're young, that's the best time to if you're going to go hard at it, my thought process is just go hard for like 2 years, 3 years, and go completely 100%, 1,000%. And then you won't have to really worry about going hard. You may still be working in your business, but not, at that ground zero level where you're really working yourself.
Yeah.
That's true. You always hear work hard, play hard, but people think that it's supposed to be at the same exact time. But really, you have to take some time to really, really work hard with no play. And then that's how you're able to free your time so that it's more play. And then you work a little less hard.
Yep.
Awesome.
I kind of saw when I read a lot of books about, say, Think and Grow Rich, The Millionaire Next Door, a lot of those type of mindset books. And I heard a lot about, sacrifice 10 years for a lifetime of freedom. Mm-hmm. For me, my thing was, I didn't want to wait 10 years. I don't have time to wait 10 years even. So I am looking at what they're trying to do in 10 years, and I'm trying to compress it into 2-3 years. So for me, the way to do that is you got to have to fully commit and just think about nothing else. There hasn't been a day this year that I haven't thought about something I can make more efficient in my business, thinking about the business plan. There has not been a single day where I haven't thought about anything about my business.
Okay, so you're focused.
Yeah, that's incredible. I definitely know what that's like, especially just focusing really hard on something and just trying to build out of that ground zero mentality, and physically too, and trying to create something formidable of what you brought into your mind to bring into, like I said, formidable of something that's just real. And, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of hard work. So, it's pretty impressive, especially at what you're doing. You're working with your guys too. You're not even controlling, overseeing. You're out there with them, showing them how it's done, getting it done, and then running the business on the back end, being a example for your team, which is, pretty great, especially something that needs to be seen more often. So, overall, just the entrepreneurial mentality, as well as the mentality of getting on the field and get it done with your guys is also extremely impressive. So, being somebody that is going to make an example of the work industry, the labor industry, is definitely something that Grow can achieve. 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to see, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give to somebody that maybe you do a little bit different in business, or 3 different ways to focus on growing your wealth?
For me, obviously the big thing with me is focus more on your employees rather than anything else, because if your employees aren't doing good and your employees aren't getting the work done, you're making no money at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So the employees are the ones making you the money, so you have to really focus on making sure they are in a good position. Another thing that I say a lot of people should look at when they're looking at their business is look more of your business as percentage. So I try to look at my business as a money machine. So I have a machine, right? I put $1 of ad spend in and I get, say, $5 of revenue out. So I try to look at that and find the percentage of revenue I make per advertisement. So when I do door hangers, say I pass at 1,000 and I close 10 clients for $60 a month each. So for 1,000 flyers, I would make $600. And I try to figure out, how much money do I have to spend to get my business to this size? And once you figure out that number, I feel like it's not really a guessing game anymore. It's just, okay, I know how much I have to spend because I already found my numbers. It's more about just, feeding the machine and then it just spitting out the same result that you already you obviously you test advertisement to find that number. But once you find that number, the average number, I mean, it's not even a guessing game anymore. It's just, okay, you kind of know about the amount of money you're going to have to spend to get your business to this size.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate that in your mind and not get emotionally attached to the numbers?
Emotionally attached meaning?
Like, a lot of people, when they start putting money into things, they start to have a lot of doubt, and then they let fear or worry about what's happening, or sadness sometimes even, overtake it, and then they quit. So how do you stay focused on, okay, this is just a numbers game. I just got to keep feeding numbers, and don't think about it so much anymore as something personal on you.
Like thinking that, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
For me, there's no point of doubting yourself. There's no reason to doubt yourself. I mean, okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's the worst that's going to happen. You're going to be in the same position. If you're not going to die if it doesn't work, it's really not that big of a deal. So if you're looking at advertisement budget and all that, you shouldn't be spending money that you're going to have to live off of. So once you already satisfied that amount of money so you can live, you don't really have to worry about your personal expenses. I mean, there's no point of not trying with the additional money. What is the money going to do anyways? So it's better just to try rather than to save and not to do anything with your money.
Yeah.
Because there's no real downside. Okay, you lose money. People lose and make money every single day. So it's just how the economy works. There's a lot of money to be made. You don't have to try to hold on to a couple dollars so much.
And yeah, that does make sense. A lot of people get tied to their financials because they're convinced that finances determine who you are as a person, and they let it affect them in that way. But once you do have the personal finances taken care of, if you have a little bit extra, you could either spend it on like getting yourself some snacks or something, or you can invest it into your future. So it's just making that difference of what do you want to prioritize? What do you want in your life? And then spend your money on what you want for your life. And that could be a business.
Yep. And I have a tip about being able to not spend your extra money. For me, the big thing, because if you didn't know, this year I have not spent, say, even $1,000 for extra things this entire year. For me, the big thing was just if I'm completely busy, like if Monday through Friday and then Saturday, Sunday, I'm doing quotes, I'm completely busy, my schedule's, where am I going to spend money? The point is getting yourself so busy and to try to work as hard as you can in your business so you don't even really think about spending extra money. Because what's the point? Like if I wanted to go buy these new shoes, I'm not going to wear the shoes because what am I wearing every day? The work uniform. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's no point to buy new shoes if every day I'm either wearing gym clothes to go to the gym or wearing my work uniform. There's no point anymore. So kind of getting yourself in that position where there's no point to spend additional money because you're not going to use it, you're not going to do it anyways, is like how if you wanted to like physically make yourself not spend money, that's my method of doing it. And that's what I've done all year.
Nice. You have literally like a laser focus on your business. Did you say that you would have like a work-life balance?
Yeah. On the weekends, I actually hang out with my friends a lot, but I would say my friends all kind of started their own small businesses too. So technically speaking, we do talk about business a lot in numbers. So, but I mean, that's what I enjoy to do. I like talking about business. So work-life balance, I actually work 4 days a week. I actually used to work 6 days a week, every single week. And I cut it down to 4 days a week. But during those 4 days, I'm laser focused. Monday through Thursday, it's just work, work, work. Even when I'm at my house, I'm trying to figure out how to grow the business, texting customers, trying to, generate more quotes, work on my Google advertisement, my Facebook advertisements, and my door hangers designs. So during those 4 days, I try to really take a lot of action. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm more relaxed and just, hanging out and not having to do much because I did work so hard in those 4 days.
That's smart.
Yeah, I would. I'm thinking back to the conversation we just had about finances and what that looks like for people when it comes to them putting their money where they want to put it and how they think about it. Because that topic, what we were talking about, something struck up in my mind was that people have a hard time, and this is I guess a matter of opinion and fact at the same time. People have a hard time taking their money and putting it into a business or taking it into an investment or some sort, just because they equate their money into their time. People are paid by a certain dollar amount per hour, and so then they take that mentality into a business. And I'm sure, as you would know, as a business owner, you probably spent a lot of time, just like what you're doing now, not necessarily getting paid for the efforts that you're putting in. Sure. So I'm sure you spent a lot of time doing foundational work that just like in that 2 months you didn't see any revenue come in. And then how would you handle that for a new business owner that would be listening, or somebody that's looking to start an entrepreneurial journey, by them taking that mentality of that job mentality? I get paid this amount of money per hour. How would you help switch that mindset for somebody who's new to business and help them overcome that fear?
For me, it depends on your situation. So if you're super young, there's no point of, not taking that leap of faith. But say you're older and you can't really sacrifice having an income because maybe you have kids or maybe you have a family to feed and you have expenses that, can't fluctuate like when you're young, and you can just move into like a small apartment if you needed to. So if you're older and you're kind of trying to do it later, I would say the big thing is starting it more as a side hustle rather than going fully in. So if you're already in a situation where you have expenses, I would try to do it more as a side hustle and to create the business from that. So you got to kind of think of it more as a hobby rather than a business right in the beginning. And then if you do it that way, you could start booking jobs for the weekend, or maybe you're doing online and on your off time, you're learning about how to maybe advertise and do your marketing. And then you start doing it on your weekends just as an extra time. You only would really need to spend like an hour a day on extra stuff. I would say move more slow paced if you were in that position. Because business is risky. So if you do mess up, you can be screwed. So I would say move more at a slow pace and starting it as a side hustle rather than jumping completely in if you're older in that position. But for sure start, but just maybe a little bit slower as a side hustle rather than quitting your job and going straight in. If you're young, there's no point of waiting, just go straight in. There's no point.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And whatever you do when it comes to building business or taking up a new journey in life, even if there's no tangible success, I guess there's a lot of intangible success, meaning things that are unseen that go into professional and personal growth that you've experienced along the way. When you start to get your hands on, materials that teach you and grow you, how to manage, yourself, which teaches you how to lead others, it gives you a stronger mentality and practice. I know you mentioned some books earlier. What are some of your favorite books that you're reading right now?
Well, right now I've been rereading the book Unlock It by Dan Lok.
Okay.
Because I've been seeing a lot of, what position am I in? I'm pretty sure he calls it the wealth archetypes. Yeah. I've been trying to look at what archetype I am and basically how to overcome that situation. Because at any point in your life, you can always improve. There's no point where you can't improve. So continuously learning will always help you. And books are, an easy way to see how a person thinks. So I like Audible. I buy the book and I use the Audible. I don't know. I like seeing the physical book, but then I also, rather hear their voice. I feel like it is a different aspect when you're hearing them say it rather than you reading it.
Sure. Yeah. And both at the same time.
Yeah. Reading a book is like almost reading a text message. It's interpretational. However, that person is telling a story with bigger context behind it. But hearing them in that voice, you can hear the tonality. You can hear their just how they're structuring their words around their vernacular. And it can definitely bring a different type of mindset to it. Just like a book that comes to my mind is that The Magic of Thinking Big. The way that guy speaks during his Audible book is just so it's peaceful and relaxing, yet it's actionable and affirmative in what you're doing for your own life. So it's different than the voice that plays in your head is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video. You're hearing somebody else teach you. So it comes off a little bit different.
And you feel like their emotions rather than how you might process their emotions, like reading a text message versus calling someone.
Yeah. Same.
You can really feel how they're thinking.
Yeah.
When they say.
Oh, a question I actually wanted to ask you. You were talking a little bit about the difference on first starting out on your business when you're a little bit older and when you're younger. Do you feel like there's some things that the older generation might not know about starting a business now? Do you have any tips for them?
For an older generation, I would say, because depending on what I know from back then and how a lot of, older businesses like operate, is a lot of them don't know the power of online marketing and the social presence and how that's a huge factor in a business nowadays. So starting a business now could be as easy as, creating a Facebook page and then start posting in your, community chat. And you can legit grow a business just from posting in a community chat. So knowing like the power of online presence would be a huge factor in growing a business nowadays, rather than back then when you really didn't have to have when there really wasn't social media, there wasn't any social presence. Now Google, Facebook, Nextdoor, all these different, online presences really create a big impact and get you a lot of different lead flows.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, I would say that it's not necessarily a matter of doing it. It's a more or less of having to figure out how to make it better, because we can all get on there and do it. And being able to have the ability to come back and retry and re-enter things, I think is a big process of that too. Because when you go out and start building a business, and just like you've experienced too, I'm sure there are times where you've had to make tweaks and adjustments and things. How have you been able to adjust along the way throughout this year to help your revenue grow, to help your business grow, to help yourself grow? You have a team of employees, all within a 12-month time period of really driving hard within your business now.
So I kind of focused a lot on I just keep tweaking my advertisement in a lot of my social medias to just constantly try to become better. So like say in the beginning of the year, my door hangers maybe got 1%. And now on my recent door hangers, I've been even seeing like upwards, sometimes even 5% when we do an advertisement run, which is really high for the, amount you have to spend. So I would say for a lot of people don't know how to, brand themselves right and do a lot of design aspects. Mm-hmm. So if you wouldn't know how to do that, I would recommend, getting with a branding expert or trying to, find someone who can help you with that part of the branding and design and marketing. But that is a big factor in whether you figure it out or you have someone or a company do it for you. It has to be done if you want to continue to grow and try to, keep going exponential rather than, flatline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So from what you're saying, it seems like branding, which is something that we stand strong by, is something that's extremely necessary. And a lot of people just skip over branding and just focus on business. But how do you see that branding impacts your business?
I think branding is the most important thing in your business, actually.
Yeah?
I preach this to my friends all the time. I think the reason I've grown so fast this year was because my branding makes it super obvious of who I am. So I get it a lot when customers text me or call me or email me and they say, hey, we saw your truck on the road, or hey, we heard about your company. And then I also been at Walmart randomly where people came up and say, hey, aren't you guys Grow?
Oh.
And like we're trying to get us customers at Walmart. So a lot of people, with our branding, we kind of made it super minimalistic and kind of obvious of who we are. So since we've worked on our branding, and that for me, that was the most important thing that I started with this year. That's the most important thing in my opinion. I think you can build a job with advertisement, but how you build a business is with branding. Because branding makes you who you are rather than just advertisement to get customers. Advertisement gets customers, branding builds a reputation. Thanks. Which customers come to regardless of advertisement or not.
That was a good quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. when the leaf is shown, people are going to know who they're talking about, meaning Grow.
Yep.
Even your colors are just so specific: the green, the black, and the white. I mean, you're unrecognizably, most recognizably, like the biggest on the Grow. No pun intended. Lawn care company coming up in the Florida area for sure.
My goal is actually to make the company just grow without the landscaping. My goal is to make the branding so strong in my business in the areas that I do service to where I only have to say Grow, and as soon as I say Grow, you know who I am. And that's 100% due to branding. Because the more you brand, the more you become a household name.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So I know you have some big goals for yourself and for the business and for your team as well. So what does your next 3 years look like, and what's the goal?
I would say in 3 years, I would be having 5 locations. I'm gonna just put that out there. My goal next year is to have this location at $1 million location. And then the year after that to start my second location with a general manager, with me being remote. And then, that's kind of more of a testing year, just testing if that model does work. And if it does, which, according to the numbers, according to my plan, it works. And I haven't been wrong yet. So, but you always, you can't guarantee anything.
Yeah.
The year after that, which would be year 3, my plan would be starting 3 locations in 1 year based off that model, since I don't have to be physically there at all.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. So there's a huge shift that would go in between you having a 10K month to tripling or quadrupling that so that you hit that $1 million year. What is that shift going to be for you?
The focus has to change. Rather than, you doing the work, you kind of have to focus more on how your employees are, like the culture in your business. So once you kind of build that culture in your business, which is kind of like your in-business brand, once you build that culture aspect, you can try to, delegate tasks out to your employees. And since they have the same, getting them on the same mindset as you with the, pay-per performance, they kind of more think, oh, how can we become more efficient? How can we improve? Since my employees are already thinking that way, I don't have to, constantly be telling my employees how to improve. I'm kind of delegating work. So for me, the big shift would be, rather than me having to do stuff, I will delegate it. So I have other people in the business thinking of those things. Like, say, for me, instead of me, managing the routes and making sure everyone is getting the work done with quality, I would rather be focused on sales and branding. So then I can have a maintenance manager who can focus on that. So instead of me having to physically be there, I can focus on growing the business instead of working on it and managing it. You got to switch your focus from managing to growing. They're 2 different things.
Yeah, that's huge. It takes a lot of shifts in your personal mentality to grow from being somebody who's doing the legwork to being a leader. And that being able to communicate your culture is exactly what's going to do that. Finding people who are like-minded and building a team with a common mission that they think the same way as you. That's going to be the difference maker. And, a lot of people have trouble trusting people and passing off, because it's your baby up to this point. Like, you've been the one doing it. And then now you have to pass it off and trust other people to do that. Do you feel like you'll run into any issues with that?
For me, the thing that kind of makes that not as big as a deal is the way I pay my employees. So I give them a set amount of work to do for the day, and they have to get this amount of work done at whatever pace they have to get it done at. So say on my schedule, on average, most employees should be getting done around 6.5 to 8 hours a day. So if they, mess up on a yard or they miss spots, for my employees, it's not going to be like you're fired. It's more going to be like a callback. Like, they personally have to go back. So if they don't want to work as hard and do extra work, they kind of have to, do it with speed, but make sure they're not going to have to go back the next day or the following week.
Yeah, so, quality with care.
You have to have those balancings. You've got to balance it. So rather than just you have employees focusing on speed, you kind of have that balancing act, which makes them have to focus on quality too, because they don't, at the end of the day, saving a minute on a yard is not going to save 30 minutes having to, load up and go back to clean up 1 yard that you made a mistake on.
Yeah, that's a good way to mitigate it. Actually, just like I mentioned earlier on in our episode together, is that ownership that you give your employees within your own company. It's totally going to change the way people think about it because they own their work. You know, yeah. It's I mean, being an artist myself, I mean, just anything that I do hands on, regardless of whether it's artwork or not. You want to do a good job in it because that's the effort that's came from you. So you breeding that mentality into people is going to go a long way for them, even after they're done with Grow and they move on and do something else in their career, whether that's open up a business or they work for somebody else. But the personal attributes and strengths that you've built within that for their professional line of work is going to go, way above and beyond a paycheck ever did for them, just because of the type of ownership and belief that you give to your team, which is going to, let alone just be one of those things that change the labor industry overall. It's that trust and that confidence in your people.
Yep. That's the goal.
Nice. I love it.
So I feel like we've learned a lot in this episode, and I feel like our listeners are really going to have some things to think about now. We talked about how at a young age, it's easy for you to just go all into your business. And once you do that, you have to get focused on numbers rather than connecting your emotions to it. And you keep your focus on the bigger picture rather than thinking about your daily tasks. And that's something that you just mentioned to us. And, it's really important to have that branding too, because the branding is going to be what keeps people back. But most of all, it's important to focus on the people that you're working with and make sure that they feel right. Because when you make sure people feel right around you, then the mission as a whole grows bigger. So Chase, I appreciate you coming on to our podcast. And we want to ask you, do you have one more piece of advice for people who are listening?
Yep. Business is simple, and people try to make business seem difficult, and people make business a whole bunch of different complex tasks. Instead of thinking of all these different things in your business, think about business like this: advertise, book the work, make a money, or make a sale. Advertise, book work, make money. It's that simple. You don't have to, try to make your business more complex than it is. It's not that complex. At the end of the day, it's those three things: advertise, book the work, and make your sale.
Awesome. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Where can our listeners find you?
You can find me either on my Instagram or YouTube. My YouTube channel is Grow Landscaping, and my Instagram is Grow Landscaping Trinity. It's Grow Landscaping of Trinity, but I just left out the of, just so my username is not as long.
Nice. Well, it was a pleasure having you on, Chase. And remember, everyone who's listening, we love you. Our path is to empower yours.